Hi, my name is Jessica Baptiste. I write under the pen name Saffron Kelley. So if you go to my Facebook, Saffron Kelley. I am currently working on my third book. It's actually a novella called Kindly, and it will be available for distribution April 2011, so in 2 months. Stay posted to Facebook. I will be updating information regarding sales, also having a book release party, which I'm really excited about. My friend Skyler Andrews and my writing partner have been very fortunate and very lucky to have them film Skyler reading excerpts of Kindly, and we are very excited about it. So please stay tuned to Facebook and look at the video. Skyler is an excellent orator, and he is also a spoken word artist himself. He is featured at Alter Egos every Thursday along with Catherine the Great and Jennifer Sparling. They're also two of my other writing friends. So please stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy what you're about to hear. Bye.
Abel Kindly was sitting out drunk downtown after Audrey ignored him for the umpteenth time. This time was different. There was no Athena, no Charmaine, or any other member of the harem to pull Abel to the sidewalk and whisper sweet nothings into his wet ears. Therefore, Abel sat in a pool of loneliness and vacancy. Anyone who knew Abel would predict that he would fall into a body of whiskey, self-destruction, art, and pussy. Abel's art reached the masses of a small town bearing the remembrances of Southern Goth. He was an obituary writer for the Glendora Herald-Times, allowing him to pay the bills. Faulkner, Whitman, and even Hemingway were reincarnated through Abel's leather notepads and fountain pens, so much that the worshipping son of a bitch had Faulkner's black and white portrait on his living room wall. "Nice picture of your puppy," Maney said, pointing at the titled black and white relic. "What?" "That man on your wall. You kind of look like him." "No, that's not my grandpa. I would never hang a picture of him for Mr. Faulkner." "Who's Mr. Faulkner? A dead president?" Coffee stains, laced with whiskey and Charmaine's tears, were planted on the white note pages. Athena's common sense quotes were pinned to the back pages in dark red ink, along with the noodle of her reddish black hair. "The world is full of unhappy people, and I ain't one of them. Your problems get drowned in a woman's vagina," were written in the most peculiar handwriting, unlike Abel's curvy and beautiful calligraphy. Reincarnation of Sadie Mae Glutz. "Abel!" Maney whined from the unmade bed. "Come back in here. You know I hate talking to you from the other room." "Not right now, Maney. I'm on a deadline," he said with a cigar hanging out of his mouth. Abel wished to throw her into Never Never Land with all the lost boys. She was already a donkey, begging for sex, wanting his love, and even sacrificing herself fundamentally for Abel. When her cell was turned off for non-payment, she used her roommate's phone to text Abel about his non-committing, philandering-ass ways. Her voice turned into donkey speak as she attempted to trick Abel into midnight sex at her place. Charmaine grabbed his lackluster hand as the rest of the bargoers screamed and yelled, "Tonight we'll be together tonight. And then I'll get lost. Gotta get up early tomorrow. Maybe we can meet up Friday night." Charmaine grabbed his thigh and smiled. She leaned in with heavy perfume to whisper her true intentions into Abel's annoyed ear. She wanted him to stay the night and eat strawberry pancakes the next morning in bed. Naked, no less. "I told you I will on Friday," Abel said. "Friday? You said maybe Friday." Friday turned into that night on Charmaine's sofa bed. Lovemaking, on her end it was lovemaking, was slow and somewhat easy. Charmaine liked Abel spooning with her after the deed was done. His light brown hair remained sweaty and sweet, kind of like it had been washed with her very expensive salon shampoo. Entwined limbs dangled off the leather couch, with Charmaine's smooth legs wrapped around Kindly's Neanderthal muscles. "You want something to eat?" "No," Abel said. Matter of fact, I want to make this as quickly as possible. Make what quick? Abel sat up and searched for his clothes. Underneath a heap of bra, panties, and socks, he found his pants. I can't do this anymore. Then he sat up and frowned. Fuck you! Abel turned and smirked. You just did, Manny. On the way back to his apartment, Abel walked downtown laughing at himself. Thoughts of going home and starting work early made him giddy, not because he wrote about the lives and deaths of Gundor's citizens, but because he was writing. Kindly, could write the alphabet every day just as long as he was allowed to write. He stalled on his story, intentionally ignoring the publisher's request for more, and more. The night was quiet, enough to snuggle on his fire escape and watch the sun come up. Abel never slept after sex with Charmaine. His mind rambled on, chuckling at her innocence, chiding at her obsession. Armed with his fumbled papers, jacket, pin, and blanket, Abel became comfortable counting the number of constellations he discovered that clear night. He thought about how he met Charmaine. It was at a dive bar, no less, with Mo just sitting and talking. We had become fixtures there. After college, after Thursday nights, the downtown was taken over by a new flock of St. Elmo wannabes. They conquered our familiar haunts. Their heavy cologne and designer t-shirts made recent grads thankful that drunken Thursdays are behind them like semester exams. Long days in a gray cubicle set a prelude to a life of staff meetings, annual performance reviews, and water cooler logic. Who died today? I asked. Sylvia Plath's sister, Abel quickly answered. Huh? No shit. Some 70-year-old lady died from pneumonia. The family sent this old black and white pic of her from like 1930. She just looked like Sylvia Plath. You're Sylvia or the real deal? I asked. Abel shook his head. Alex's large curls bounced. The real deal. I'm not allowed to see what used to be my Sylvie. Sylvie, kindly deemed the name to be a curse word, was Abel's ex-girlfriend, the florist. The geeky chic, bookish chick stopped selling tea roses because of Kindly's antics. The night they had their worst argument and breakup, Abel slammed her apartment door so hard he knocked over a vase full of pink and red tea roses. Sylvie stood by the window for an hour, staring at the water drip from the small kitchenette table to the hardwood flooring. The noise made the sound of a rat pissing on cotton balls. Promise me, she wailed. Promise me that you will just exist for a while. The thought of seeing you with another woman this soon will be too much to handle. Kindly grinned and hugged her. He said nothing to her request. It was one that Kindly considered unfair. He deemed himself an artist who must have at least one female in life in order to create. 2 weeks later, while Sylvie worked on an arrangement for a wedding and her kid brother worked the front counter, she caught a glimpse of Kindly buying yellow tea roses as a short, willowy girl stood next to him, holding her Kate Spade purse. That next day, Sylvie cleared out her entire inventory of tea roses, hauling the beautiful petals to the city mission. When can you go back in the shop? I asked. Don't know and don't care. I can go to the funeral home and get fresh flowers if I really wanted some that bad. I chuckled and noticed a small group of Heathers sitting across from us, giggling and deciding who was next to make an ass of herself at amateur karaoke. Who's little piggy? Abel asked, digging for the next cigarette. Who? Pinky over there, the one with the creamy folds of shirt and lip gloss. Man, can't you just talk like a regular motherfucker and not some writer? Abel chuckled and continued to scope out the piggy pen across from us, through the cheap cigarette smoke and bar clamor. Piggy looked up and smiled. Her rosy cheeks grew flowery as she turned to her fellow clique sister and whispered, He's looking at me. Don't do it, ma'am, I tried to warn. Abel's eyes grew wider than that damn Wile E. Coyote from the cartoons. Only this time there was no ugly bird to hunt. He knew. He knew little Piggy over there was unused goods, practically a virgin, not sexually, but worldly. Kindly would tell this uncultured suburban princess that the world was flat. Kindly would reply that fish could fly and chicken could swim, knowing that Piggy would gobble it all up, swallow the absurd statements, then shit them out after Abel came and departed. She would believe him not because she was dumber than her fellow Heathers, but because Abel told her so. He will tell her on blankets of sweat, sweet poetry, and condom wrappers. Piggy turned into Charmaine, then to the thick upper London accent of Mamie. Mamie, that grew tired of listening to Abel read through his endless pages of conversational eavesdropping and lower downtown observation. She yearned to be in the bathtub with Kindly, then gently fall asleep while turning into A&E's lineup of reality shows. Sometimes he would sit at her dining room table, allowing her to ramble on about mani-pedi bullshit, returning clothes to New York and Company, and getting Abel to go to the movies. Her words, as plush as she spoke, were filled with the ideas brought to audiences by the producers and writers of the new Beverly Hills 90210, the OC. You speak in perpetual hyperbole, Abel said, resting the exhausted fountain pen in his hand. No, I speak English, real English. You Yanks have no clue what it is. Mamie yawned and turned to Kindly. And you have no clue about what I just said. Kindly especially enjoyed watching Charmaine do her hair. The long black and blonde locks careened down her back, playing peekaboo with her ass. She slowly permitted the strings to sprint between her chubby manicured fingers. A large, long part was next. Then that weird, slightly menacing grin appeared on her childlike face through the bathroom mirror, back at Abel. Sadie Mae Glutz, I told Abel one day on the phone. Who the hell is Sadie Mae Glutz? That crazy broad who killed Roman Polanski's wife. Manson family. Yeah, her. Maney? Yeah, the weird smile and that damn part going through the middle of her hair, I laughed. To be perfectly honest, Abel was intrigued. It made Charmaine even more interesting, more than her nonsense babbling sex star of text messages. It made her so interesting that Abel continued to date her for a whole other month. Who looks like Judy Garland's daughter. Listen, Miss Audrey Moore, Abel teased outside his office. The wind continued to set up a scene only found in classic films. It came in quietly, singing the background score, then exiting in an orchestrated farewell. I had the afternoon off after finishing an early deadline. With nothing much to do for several hours and Abel's need for a cigar, we met him in front of the news office. Do you remember Audrey Moore? He asked. Vaguely? Yeah, that brunette that posed nude for art class. I knew what was next after the Sylvie situation. Abel seemed to work his way back to Audrey Moore. For all practical purposes, Audrey was as flighty and wishy-washy as the day was long, not to mention a common slut who seemed to have a need to fuck any guy that paid her an eyelash of attention. Her indecisions to include Abel in her life seemed to depend on whether or not she could find a ball of yarn. It was a speculation of mine that Audrey looked into a mirror in the morning and the Liza Minnelli reflection who stared back at her felt incomplete. She sought completion in flirting and dating other men, and by rubbing Kindly's intoxicated face and heart in her insecurity. Audrey wasn't exactly pretty, but what gentlemen of the Victorian age would call a smart woman. Handsome. She had a twiggy haircut that was streaked with pink or purple at times and a very protruding nose. If she dressed up for a cabaret show, one would assume she was the offspring of Liza Minnelli. She murmured, "I love you," to Kindly, filling him up with warmth and acceptance, but could still be Spotted 2 days later at a bar or restaurant chumming up with some random guy. Audrey the cat played pity-pat with Abel's heart, jabbing and pawing at the delicate muscle, until Abel backed off for a while or just tagged along after her, only to be an afternoon catnip toy for two spoiled felines. You must be a glutton for punishment, I said. Audrey has the whip and, well, you know the rest. Abel exhaled a large pool of cigar smoke and grinned. He opened his wallet, exposing a silly driver's license photo and a picture of Sylvie. We knew the score with Audrey, good old short haircut Audrey. However sweet Audrey may have appeared, Abel told stories of her sneaky and deceitful ways. He would call me after he departed an outing, inquiring whether or not Audrey was with another guy. He snuck a peek at her cell phone, hunting for incriminating evidence of her nastiness and lies. Audrey had his wandering heart in a locket she occasionally dangled in front of Abel, me, and other men. I'm happy, Abel piped up whenever I would mention Audrey. Okay, I'd say. It's going good. I'm trying to be good. Why would you stray from the straight and narrow? Don't know. Audrey and Abel's relationship made no sense. There are situations in life that make no sense, that somehow contradictory seem logical. Like rain when the sun is beaming down on someone's front lawn, or canines and felines calling an armistice. This, however, was not one of those odd events. A sticky game of cat and mouse would best describe Abel with Audrey. Audrey the cat was on the prowl again, snagging Abel with her paws, playing the love-struck prey until there was no more breath. So she's for real this time. Abel sucked his teeth. That's what she says. Yeah, but we've been down this road before, I said. I'm happy, Abel repeated. A date with Audrey consisted of hanging downtown, necking in some jazz club, or walking hand in hand while she spoke of the fashion of yesteryear. My grandmother would love to have that hat. Audrey pointed at a green round hat or an awkward mannequin. Audrey could be mistaken for a gold digger, except her ambitions for rich and young turned to artistic and absent. She once tried to design clothes, even hosting a fashion event with no avail. Audrey had hurriedly married. He was a good-looking guy, a college professor named Eric. The marriage was doomed from the start. He was stoic and cheap, and she was meticulous and extravagant. They stayed married enough to conceive a boy, Eric Jr., and then legally separated on his second birthday. Abel, with cigar in hand, mouthing off about the local political scene at an open mic, met eyes with Audrey. She has the most intense eyes, Abel told me once upon a time ago. How? Deep. Her eyes or her? Both. Sex with Audrey, according to Abel, was feverish and plentiful. Not exactly good, but satisfying. Despite the huge nose and boyish features, Audrey the cat could quickly turn into master of skin-sucking, lip-biting escapades on Abel's gray sheets. The short bob of a haircut stood erect as Abel rolled over and began to pin his instant emotions. Hunger, sleepiness, satisfaction, contentment, and maybe love. Where are you going? He asked as Audrey got dressed. Gotta get home to the baby. Sitters get antsy after midnight. Abel rolled over and his notebook spilled pieces of tiny paper on the bed. He propped his legs over the pillows. So do boyfriends. Audrey giggled a tiny high-pitched sniffle. I wouldn't know. I don't have a boyfriend. Meaning? Meaning what? I don't have a boyfriend. You're kidding, right? Audrey ran her fingers through her page boy and adjusted her bra. No, why would I kid about that? Oh, really? You mean, you think we're... That's the feeling I got. Audrey picked up her keys. In time, in time. She kissed Abel and walked out the door. She left only the remembrances of her kisses and tongue on Abel's body and soul. He turned the light off and drifted to sleep.
Abel Kindly. It's about the character of Kindly and everybody's life that is in relation to Kindly, because we live in relation to each other. You know what I'm saying? It's like Lolita is not about Lolita. It's about Humbert.
Right.
But Humbert tells the story of him and Lolita.
So would you say Mo is telling about he and Kindly? He's telling about Kindly as a way to talk about a myriad of interconnected relationships.
Basically.
Like he's talking about several relationships and he's making Kindly the nexus between them.
And that because they are. You know, you have Athena, you have Audrey, you have Charmaine. If you have Kindly, like if Kindly was a tumor, they have other little Kindly's a tumor. If you have Kindly the tumor and he's branched off little fibroids of different characters, it's like that.
I think what some people are wondering when they ask you that is, why did you name him Kindly?
You really want to know why I named him Kindly?
Yes.
Okay. I had a dream, and there was this car. It was a train, and there was this car with Kindly on it, and that's why.
Okay.
And so when I decided to write a story like this, I decided on the name Abel. I wanted to give him a biblical name.
But do you hope it's going to a good place? Do you hope the best for Kindly?
I realistically hope for Kindly. And being, you know, real, you don't know what he's going to do. So he may do the right thing, he may do the wrong thing. I think more in the sequel, the more that I, you know, get into the character of Kindly and more, I want readers to get more into the psyche of Kindly and understand why he is the way he is. Audience may empathize with Kindly, but I don't think they would totally say, okay, he's in the right and a lot of stuff he does. No, he's not in the right. He knows he's wrong, but he gets away with it, so why would he stop? People do as they are allowed to do for as long as they can get away with it.
Is he getting away with it?
Oh, yeah, he's getting away with it. He's getting away with it for most of the story. Not to give anything away.
It's easy to look at someone else with as many issues as Kindly and say, I'm above them.
Yeah.
If you look at Kindly and Kindly, even though a friend of his is narrating it, we are taken through Kindly's journey.
Yes.
We're taken through Kindly's journey. That means we have to ride alongside Kindly through this, and it's not so easy to say I'm above you because you're going through everything with me. Mo is someone who cares for Kindly and knows he's messed up, but he's walking alongside him. Mo does not put himself above Kindly.
Well, it's like The Great Gatsby. You read The Great Gatsby?
Yeah.
Okay, you know Nick is the narrator. So everything you know about Daisy and Gatsby and Daisy's husband and Daisy's husband's mistress and the eyes of God, you know, is in Nick's eyes. And it's so funny because Nick is probably one of the most, if not the most decent people in the whole entire novel. And he's narrating it. I would say maybe we should hear Kindly talk about his you know, life. Might help a little bit.
I think that's what this is all leading up to.
Like him talking about his life?
Yeah, but it's your series. I wouldn't purport to tell you how to tell your story.
No, it's not my story to tell. It's just observation, gathering inspiration from observation over the last almost a year. So people hand you bologna, you make sandwiches out of it, which is what I'm trying to do.